Welcome back to part 2 of our owl dissection. Hopefully you had an opportunity to drop and drag and be able to put those that anatomy, that skeletal remain together. So for the second part of our lesson today, I just want to look at a dissection overview, because oftentimes when we're looking at an owl pellet and dissecting it, we will find multiple skeletons within one pellet, which gives us some clues that the barn owl, which is the pellets that in class we look at, we happen to take a look at the barn owl, that they are consuming more than one organism before they regurgitate their pellet. So we as scientists also like to look at how is the energy moving through the chain, and where is the energy that the owl consumes coming from. So here we have a simple food web for a barn owl. So keeping in mind that our energy originates from the sun, as photons come down to the earth, they are absorbed by plants, and plants are able to form a glucose or a sugar that helps provide them energy, as well as transfer of energy into the first level consumers that take them in. And so that might include organisms like a mouse, a vole, it could be a rat, could be something like a shrew. So notice as we're looking at this food web, the plant would be consumed by some kind of small invertebrate, so that might be that vole or that mouse that is then consumed by the shrew. Shrew happens to be a carnivore, meaning it only consumes other consumers or meats, versus our mouse and vole. Those are herbivores, so they're a little bit lower down in the food chain. And our rat, an omnivore, so it's able to consume both plants and other animal organisms. Towards the top of the food chain, we have the owl. Now, depending on what the owl has consumed is going to either make it a secondary or tertiary, which means like the third level of consumer. So looking at that owl, I've set up a chart here for you, so I'm going to kind of go over how I read this chart and how scientists might use a chart like this to collect energy to figure out what percentage of energy is coming from each organism. Now, you are going to see a similar chart like this in your exit ticket. So my suggestion is a couple things. One, when it comes to figuring out the energy percentages and totals, feel free to use a calculator. Personally, because I'm home and I don't have my classroom calculator, I use the calculator function on my cell phone to help me with that. And also, don't be afraid to keep this tab open and kind of move back and forth between the slideshow, which I've also attached so you could print it off, or you could just keep it up as you're looking at the exit ticket. So I don't expect you to memorize how to do these problems. You just might have to use the tools in a different way in case you don't have them printed out in front of you. You might have to move back and forth between the screens. So when we look at the energy chart, what we're going to see is first listed is the animals consumed. So in this case, we have the vole, mice, rat, and shrew. In the next column, we're going to see the number consumed. So in this example, in our pellet, we found skeletal remains of 4 voles, 3 mice, 1 rat, and 0 shrews. Now, scientists have information of averages of animals' weights. In scientific measurement, we would use grams. So a vole, the average weight of each vole is 28 grams, for a mouse, 45, rat, 300, rather large organism. So a lot of mass consumed for 1 rat. A shrew would only be 10 grams. So if I was going to look at what is the total mass of energy that came from the vole, what I'm going to look at, and I've put the math for you over here to the right. If this owl consumes 4 voles, and each vole is 28 grams, the total amount of grams consumed is 112. And I got that by taking 4 times 28 equals 112. For the mouse, if there's 3 consumed, each at 45 grams, 3 times 45 is going to give me a total of 135. The rat, there's only one consumed with 300 grams. So 1 times 300 is 300. And the shrew, none are consumed. Therefore, 0 times 10 equals 0. Now I'm going to move on to the next slide to talk about, well, how did I find the percentage of the diet that is consumed? So what I did is first I took, again, we have the total mass for each organism, so the 112, 135, 300, and I added those together to come up with a grand total of grams consumed by the barn owl. Okay, so all together, if we were going to put an amount of energy on the organisms within the pellet, the owl consumed 547 grams. Again, I got that by figuring out with each organism what the mass was and then adding all of those together. Then what I had to do, and this is why it's so important that I was recording the total mass, is I took the total mass for each organism. So here the bowl. Okay, all together those 4 bowls provided 112 grams of energy. Well, that 112 grams divided by the grand total, so that's that 547, multiplied by 100, gave me 20.5% of all the energy consumed came from those 4 bowls. Looking at the mouse, okay, remember I took 3 mice times 45, so the average mass of each organism totaled 135 grams. When I added all those masses together, 547. So the bowl gave, the mice gave a total of 24.7% of the energy. Now look at the rat. This is interesting. So the barn owl hunts one rat, very large organism, right? We can see here the average mass is 300 grams. But when consumed, that one rat, that 300 grams divided by the total, 547 times 100, gives us 54.8%. So by consuming one rat, larger organism, we can see that over 50%, over half the energy that that the owl consumed comes from that rat. Now I know I've talked a lot about numbers here, so feel free, go back, take a look at this chart. You'll see in the slides that I have linked, that I tried to do it step by step. So taking the number of organisms consumed times its mass gives me a total. And so my first step is to find that total individually for each organism. So I have this column called total mass. So if I want to know all together how many grams the owl has consumed, okay, I have to take these individual masses, so the 112, 135, 300, and add them together. This gets me a grand total. So this barn owl, when I looked at the pellet, had consumed 8 organisms. Now I would know this because there would be 8 skeletons that I would find in there. So I know altogether 547 grams approximately of material was digested. Then if I want to find out for each individual organism what percentage that is, I'm going to take just the total mass for that organism, so in this example the bowl, 112, divide it by the grand total of all together, multiply it by 100, and that gives me my percentage. As I said earlier, you in your exit ticket are going to find an energy chart, and this is going to also be a multiple choice, so you'll have an opportunity to have some selections there, but it's going to be set up in a very similar manner, and we're going to be asking you to find, starting with the total mass of some different organisms individually, then we'll ask you to find the total mass all together, and then finally some percentages. So feel free to take some notes from this video to keep this PowerPoint open on maybe another tab, because again, kind of how I found the numbers is going to be on the right hand side of the chart. All right, good luck, and we will talk to you next week. Bye.